on after our talk. This is a big crowd. There are vacant seats here in this area. There. Alright, so a brief introduction. Not all of you will know me, but some already do. I'm also a member of the frog community, more of a lurker, not really a noisy contributor, if I may say. So this event is hosted by DevEx. DevEx is actually an international development focused company. So there are also people from DevEx IT here. We have people from QA, and the devs are at the back. Standing ovation. Okay, so this is a big crowd. I'd like to say we have this room until 9:30, so let's base our agenda for tonight properly. Let's have the first talk. I'll be doing a quick discussion about surviving the last mile. I apologize for the small screen. The socket here is failing, so we're trying to make do with what we have. So after that, let's have pizza. So I'm gonna make my talk really quick, and then we can huddle together. Where's Mikong? Wala. Wala pa. So when Mikong arrives, hopefully we've all been filled with our pizza dinner. Okay? So without further ado, I'm Maricris Nonato. I will be talking about surviving the last mile. So as you will see from my presentation, it is best appreciated while listening to the speaker. I will accommodate your questions, reactions, violent or nice reactions after the talk.
Try mo ulit.
So, I am the Technology Development Manager of DevEx, and you can find more information about me in this URL, about.me/maricris.nonato. Okay, so I don't know how many of you guys know about the last mile problem. Can I please see a show of hands? Who is aware what the last mile problem is?
Which context?
IT, project development, web development. Show of hands? Anyone? Wala.
Telephone companies, kapag kakabit na nila yung service dun sa bahay mismo ng subscriber, they usually call it the last mile problem.
It's a very good analogy, actually.
It's the hardest part of the marathon.
Perfect. Okay, so my presentation is mostly full of images, so I will be discussing what it is as we go along. So the last mile problem is actually the hardest. It's like, the reason why it's called the last mile is you've already consumed your energy, but you want to get to a point where you call it finished, where you call it done, and you feel like it's complete. So what it is, it's the amount of work you have to put in place to mark your project or task as stable and self-functioning. It's the amount of effort that effectively makes you sleep at night, that you could leave your project and it would return money to you without a doubt. So it's like putting your project out there and it's self-functioning, it returns money, it generates income for you on your behalf. Meaning, there's nothing you need to do, you don't need to babysit, you don't need to maintain it, or at least some minor maintenance, but not proactively going into every detail every day. That is the last mile. But what is it not? So, it's not your normal average day-to-day challenge where you design your project, you say, I want to build my search this way, everything should be in the cloud, my infrastructure should be with the master-slave setup, with PG pool setup, this technology should be used. It's not like that. It's the assumption is you already have something there, and you want to get it to completion. You want to get it to stability, and it's something that's very difficult most of the time. So it's not the process of iterating to move your project or stories to done or delivered, because that's something you do while you're building your product. But when you're already there, think of it this way: if you have a product, a startup probably, and you put it on the cloud, you didn't think of growing it to an enterprise level. But what if that happens? Like Twitter. Well, at first it was small, it's very easy to use. But sooner or later, they had this problem about the last mile. Like, it's already gained many users, It's already there, it's popular, it's usable. But how do you support many users? How do you keep your cloud hosting up to grade? How do you scale up your resources? So that is the last mile. And we've seen them go down. We've seen them get hit by these problems. We've seen them get up, get back again, and rethink their structure. Now that's the last mile. So, who are you guys? You're mostly developers, right?
Yes.
Are there web designers here?
Nasa kabila.
Project managers, QA. So, are you affected by this? Yes. So, whoever you are in the entire stack of project management, of IT, you will experience this pain, whether you like it or not. But, I might say that only those people who would like to stick until the end would feel this, who would experience this. So if you love just creating new projects every day and just putting it out there, not seeing it through its growth, its maturity, then probably won't experience the last mile problem. But if you work for a company, if you own a business, if you run your own startup, and you want to see it grow, you will experience the last mile. So whatever your answer is yes, you're affected by this. And yeah, you feel it at some point. So the last mile problem is mostly about maintenance. Is this true or false? Wild guess? False. Yeah, false. It's not only about maintenance. It's about growing it and adopting it. Making it adopt to whatever challenge there is. Just like my previous example with Twitter. What was their challenge? They were being bogged down by the number of requests that needs to get into their servers. They need to make quick whatever the response time is. So those kinds of things are actually the problems that you need to solve in the last mile problem. So let's jump to programming. I want to briefly touch into this to answer the question of whether why this is not just about maintenance. Programming is the work done by programmers, and its job mostly include coding, compilation, debugging, documentation, integration, maintenance, etc. I did not invent this. You can see it in this Wikipedia page. So programming in simple terms is reading and writing code and everything in between them. If you do coding, but you can't do debugging, don't call yourself a programmer. We know that programmers are good in writing code, and it's always harder or more difficult to read code written by others. Tama?
Yes.
Yes. That is why, to consider yourself a good programmer, you should be able to read other people's code. Because programming is about reading and writing and debugging. If you can't debug other people's code, then you should rethink how far along your programming skills are. So the challenge is, when you are in the last mile problem, is to always fix things, adapt things, upgrade things, scale things, and the challenge is like endless. So when you're programming, it's writing and reading code and refactoring code. So you see, it's not about maintenance. There is nothing maintaining about writing and reading code. Because however you are right now, you were something lesser in scale or less mature than you are now. It is an assumption that when you're a developer, what you are tomorrow is already something more than what you are today, right? So, meaning you do refactoring, you study, you change and you fix and you upgrade your code. So that's not maintenance, that's growing. That is something what the last mile is all about. So the challenge is, of course, if you own the project, if you own the product, then if you want to do something like change your search from this to that, you could just put something like this on your site and say, please come back X number of days. But no, you can't do that. Why? When you're in the last mile problem, it assumes that you already have something on the cloud. It's already running, you have visitors, you have users, and you're already generating some income. So you can't do this. So this is a challenge. So So, in the last mile problem, it is involving intellectually complex decisions. It means trying to get the idea to be building on top of what you have, but not breaking what you already have. Do you follow? Yes. So this is not for those who don't want challenges, who just want to sit behind their desk and continuously code something, but never go back and release it. So you will have technical difficulties. That means at some point you will have problems with migrating your data from this to this because you have decided to upgrade it to this and that, something like that. So this last mile thing is not for the faint-hearted. And of course, we all know it's unfair. Developers would always want to whet their appetite with something new, something popular, whatever is hit, whatever is in, whatever is at the top of your feed. I want to try this. This is a new gem, there's a new tool, there's a new whatever engine. But when you're in the last mile problem, you would almost always feel it's unfair. But this is really a good challenge, come to think of it. And it's a dirty job. I mean, I wouldn't sugarcoat it. It's really a dirty job. Why? Because you have several constraints, like you will see a lot of code that makes you feel that you're living in the past. Meaning, if I'm reading something that was not written by a developer of my same grade, and this developer just learned Ruby on Rails, like, I don't know, for a short period of time, you will feel like you're living in the past. And what do? You have to clean it, you have to write code, you have to write tests. So it's one constraint. And you have to conserve your energy. Why? Because we all know that when you're in the last mile problem, you're really a good developer. Because you can't just put your passion into everything. For example, you see one problem about the filters. The filter is like horrible, but I'm just trying to fix one problem related to the filter. So I cannot fix every other infrastructure related thing. So you must know how to conserve your energy and focus only on what is needed at the time. So it's difficult because we all know we're passionate people. We thrive for new things all the time. But this one is more of a constraint. So this is software maintenance. And this involves a lot of intelligence. Definitely not for the faint-hearted. Definitely not for those people who are lazy. And definitely not for those who are not passionate. So let's talk about prevention and survival. Prevention. Number one, you should always be vigilant. Whenever you have the opportunity to upgrade, take it. 3 to 13, take it. Take it, no matter how difficult it is.
Goodbye weekend, regression test.
Yeah, goodbye weekend. But see, it's something that you do because you're passionate. You don't want to wait to be hit by a storm, by lightning. You don't want to be picked on by hackers because you want to survive the last mile. You don't want to be like Evernote or Twitter who got hacked several times. So that's one prevention, upgrade. Another thing is always to be vigilant. You should know who to listen to. You just don't subscribe to any feed. Of course, your number one feed should be Ruby on Rails blog. And the next one should be something like your mentor or somebody who DHH, you have maths. I'm starting with Ruby and this, and then follow up with your mentor. So don't just subscribe to like any other guy. Mentor love is not so other than subscribing, you should also know how to voice your concerns. We all know we've been in this situation, like we voice concerns to our bosses, to our project managers, product managers. So you should never stop doing that because you might not know when the right opportunity is. So always speak up. So when there is an opportunity, say for example, your last mile problem involves a Rails 2.3 application. And it's big and it's old. So when you hear that your stakeholder wants something new, oh, I want a mobile site. Oh, I want something like a faster search engine or something like a separate tool on the site. Take the opportunity to create something new. Don't build on an old code. Learn from the new things that's coming along your way. So don't get stuck in the past. That's what I'm saying. And lastly, if you need help, you don't just find intelligent people on the net. Talk to the person beside you. Learn who's the best person to talk to about these things. Find a good contact, somebody who is in your network. So I am inviting you to build your network, to talk to great people, find great people, and leverage that information. And of course, the reward for this is high performance. So we're looking at the end of the last mile, towards the end of the last mile, there is a reward for each and every one of us. That there will be high performance and meeting of your goals. And finally, as Joel Spolsky has said, don't fall into the mistake that big companies like Netscape and Borland fell into, which is writing their code from scratch. Okay? So we all know that we developers like to rewrite, write, fix, upgrade, but never sell this idea of writing your code from scratch. Just take the next opportunity to create something new, but not write it from scratch. Why? Because whatever code you have online or in the cloud or wherever that's already up in production is always better than something that you are just about to write. Because that one, ideally, should have been tested already and is already bug-free. Okay? So that concludes my talk. Have any questions, violent reactions, suggestions, and recommendations? Wala. I guess we're all hungry.
Yes.
So if we're all hungry, then let's eat.
Yeah.
So,